tunable IEMs. It seems like it's all the craze these days. It's been around for maybe longer than you think. More on that in a sec. In today's video, I'm reviewing the Tanchjim 4U in-ear monitors. Let's try and figure out if they are indeed 4U or not. Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. There's the box for the Tanchjim 4U, this single dynamic driver IEM with a little sneak peek of the graph on the back. The price of this guy here, it's coming in at around $69 US. So yeah, in that entry level range. Let's start off with a quick look at the cable. There she is, and it's a really pretty cable. It's got a bit of a sheen, a bit of a glimmer, sparkle to it. So it's a lovely cable. It feels quite nice. It handles fairly well, but it is fairly prone to tangling. So it can be a little bit annoying, but you know, for something in this price range, yeah, it's on par. It's a solid cable. Let's look at the IEMs now without throwing them around the room, hopefully. And there they are. And yes, they are very shiny, aren't they? And that is great for photos, but in practical terms, it's not so great because you can see already covered in fingerprints. I don't know why they do these things. I think it's for the just for the photo shoots. Not only do they get covered in fingerprints very easily and quickly, but they get scratched very easily as well. So it's something to keep in mind if you are someone who cares about the appearance of your IEMs. Well, I don't know. You can either baby these as much as you possibly can, or you can consider alternatives. Because although mine have had fairly light use, they're starting to get scratched up already, and that's not cool. So single dynamic driver, $69 price point, pretty comfortable in terms of the shells. No issues there whatsoever. I might as well talk about this little guy down here while we are at the beginning. This is the tuning dial for the bass. And yeah, it only affects the bass. There's 4 different switch positions. We've got atmospheric, pop, natural, and monitor. So supposedly 4 different sound profiles. In reality, I don't think anyone is going to use anything apart from atmospheric or pop. And really, I think anyone using anything but atmospheric is going to be very few and far between. So it's a kind of a gimmicky thing. Some people are excited about this new tuning method. It's not new in the least. I remember reviewing an IEM way back in like 2017, so 7 years ago, which was the Accutone Taurus, and that had a basically the exact same thing. So it's nothing new, but does it work? Well, I've kind of mentioned already, no, it doesn't really. I mean, it works. It does kind of what it's intended to do, which is adjust the quantity of the bass. But even in the maximum bass setting, like, I don't think there's enough quantity-wise to satisfy a lot of people. Certainly not bass heads. You want to steer clear of these. For me, myself, it is just enough. Sometimes I might want a little bit more in the bass, but for the most part, yeah, I'm pretty happy. But going down even to pop, but certainly the other 2 tuning modes, no way. But let's throw up the graph. That's what it looks like. And let's talk about how these sound. Now, the 4U here, really, I in my opinion, it's like a masterclass in natural timbre for something in this price range. The timbre, it just sounds so natural and organic. It actually reminded me on my first listen of the sort of some of the tunings that we used to see back in the day. And by back in the day, I mean like 6 or 7 years ago, before we got into the graph revolution. But these have got an organic cohesiveness and a nice musical presentation. These IEMs, they steer clear of any forced clarity, which we're pretty familiar with nowadays, I think. But they aim instead to make your music enjoyable rather than going for all-out wow factor, technicality, clarity, and detail. So the bass it's fairly full-bodied and textured in atmospheric mode. However, it is definitely not what I would consider impactful or authoritative. It doesn't have to feel big in quantity, though, to feel substantial. It does have a fairly nice weight to it. It's got a lovely warm tone and sufficient sub-bass depth to be engaging, again, in atmospheric. Don't expect big rumbles out of these. You're not going to get it. Don't expect, lots of air being moved around in your ears and in your head. It just doesn't do that. Then for the mid-range, the mids sound earthy and unforced. It's not the utmost in clarity, but it sort of oozes naturalness and, once again, that nice accurate timbre or natural timbre. Vocals are a highlight with these. They're nice and rich, yet they are fairly articulate. They're vibrant, but never shouty. And the same could be said for instruments in the mid-range. Cellos have a nice deep resonance, and pianos sound crisp, but never sharp. Moving up the scale to the treble now, and the treble has a fairly safe tuning. It's got a slightly warm presentation with a pleasing tone. It's free of sibilance, it's free of harshness, and despite a pretty large dip in the upper treble, the detail retrieval is still impressive. It allows me to hear most micro details quite easily, so despite the treble being fairly safe and non-aggressive, the detail retrieval is on point. It's quite good. And it's not the airiest of treble, but the highs have good extension, good note density, and good crispness up there. Now, in terms of soundstage and technicalities, nothing spectacular going on there. The stage isn't all that large. It's fairly modest in dimensions. It's not great in technicalities, except I would say the detail retrieval is pretty darn good. But in terms of resolution, imaging, and all that, everything's just fairly average. And really where I think the 4U's strength is just in its tone and its natural organic timbre. We'll do a couple of super quick comparisons now. The first one will be with the Kefine Delchi. Now, I don't have that here on the table, but I'll just tell you real quick. The Delchi has got a little bit more mid and sub bass, so it's got a bit more depth and power, impact in the bass. And apart from that, they both follow a fairly similar frequency response. I personally find the Delchi to be a much more engaging listen. It just has a bit more definition in the bass. It's got that impact. It's got that sub bass rumble. It is slightly more V-shaped, but definitely not recessed in the mid-range. And overall, I would definitely choose the Delchi over this one. And then for the next one is this. This is the Twistura D major. A bit of an outlier there, a bit of a strange one. The D major here has even less bass than the 4U in atmospheric mode. It's kind of around the bass level of the pop tuning mode. So it's fairly light in the bass, and it is a little bit more forward in the upper mid-range as well, in that presence region. So not a bassy IM. However, I think the bass definition is better on the D major. It's got a tighter, more controlled, sort of really clean bass that's nice and textured with good layering. And then the upper mid-range lift, it's going to be a little bit bright for some people. It is rather intense at times. The treble, like the 4U, is fairly tame. It's not going to cause any problems. I think it's more that presence region. If you are sensitive to that upper mid-range region. If you listen to female vocals and don't like to have shoutiness or anything there, this might be a bit too aggressive for you. But it's just got super abundant clarity, very clear. It's got slightly better separation, instrument separation, more spacious mid-range, better clarity, comparable detail retrieval. You know, neither of these would be an ideal daily driver for me, but at the same time, both of them are pretty good. But there are just so many great sub $100 IEMs out there at the moment. The Confined Delchi being one of my favorites. A bunch of other stuff. My mind's drawing a blank at the moment, but they're out there. You can check out my best IEMs list on the website if you want to see what I think some of the best sub $100 IEMs are at the moment, and any other price range, obviously. So that's the Tanchjim 4U. Not a bad little IEM, but like I said, lots of competition in that sub $100 price range. Not ideal for me in terms of a daily driver, although I have had some enjoyable times with it, but it doesn't suit my preferences to a T exactly. But I think, you know, if you're looking for something with a nice natural timbre, doesn't have a lot of bass, but it's got a nice natural sound, then yeah, these might be for you if you don't mind some fingerprints. Having said that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Par Family Audiophile style. If you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button before you go. And until next time, I'll see you later.